Welcome to Animal Nonsense. I'm Jess.
I'm David. I'm really excited. There's a new episode of The Muppet Show.
Oh.
This is the first one in 45 years. The last one was 1981.
Okay.
And I know the Muppets have done like other films and other projects, but without any involvement from me, they have gone and made my dream come true. So I thought, let's do a programme based on The Muppet Show. How do you remember becoming aware of The Muppet Show?
I don't know. I mean, I can still remember the theme tune in my head.
Yeah, which has really influenced our theme tune. And I didn't realise it until getting ready to this episode. Because right at the end of it, on our tune, you get dum. And it's the note that hits right at the end of the Muppet theme tune. The saxophone puppet just blows out one note like he's late, like he's missed it. I remember when I moved house, so I was born in the middle of Portsmouth in Buckland, and then when I was 3.5, I moved to North Portsmouth. Yeah. And I was really discombobulated by the move. Yeah. It really, I hated
most
it.
Kids would be, yeah.
And the only thing that would relax me was a Christmas episode of The Muppet Show. Aww. But I watched it every day for 9 months.
Oh my God.
I remember the video, but I don't remember moving. But it really was a fixed point in a moving world.
It's a calming mechanism.
And I think it's one of the reasons why I enjoy the Animal Nonsense podcast, and that hopefully we might provide that for someone else.
Yeah.
Real facts about The Muppet Show.
Yeah.
Jim Henson was born in rural Mississippi in 1936, but his first experience of an animal in the arts was not a positive one. He was taken to see The Wizard of Oz. It came out when he was 3, and the MGM lion roared at the start of the film, and it frightened him so much he ran out of the room.
Oh.
He did not remember owning or ever seeing a puppet as a kid. The only reason he began using them was on reaching adulthood, he wanted to work in television. And the only job in his area on a local TV station was an advert for a puppeteer. And so he knew nothing about it prior to that. He'd never been interested in puppets. Yeah. But because he didn't own a puppet, when he went for the job, him and his wife just made puppets. They didn't really know how to do it. And really quickly, they had a repertory cast of more human-ish looking puppets.
Yeah.
But he was on at the end of the late night news. It wasn't a children's spot. And he always reached for like an adult and a child audience.
Yes.
And so it's interesting, his first time on TV was more or less the middle of the night. The reason he became more animal orientated was he made a puppet out of his mother's old green coat.
Okay.
And so even though it was going to be used on black and white TV, you wouldn't know the colour.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Then he had to be a frog in Jim Henson's head to make the character complete.
Yeah.
And so even though he doesn't, as you will see on the photo, he doesn't really look anything like a frog, the audience response went up just by him being announced as a frog.
It's interesting. Did they use the same Kermit puppet all the way through? Or I imagine there was like several versions of Kermit.
No, I think there's been a lot.
Yeah.
And the reason that the puppet took hold was because the coat was made out of thinner material. And so if you think about Kermit's face, it really reveals Jim Henson's hand more.
Yeah. Because
the material's very thin. And so if he realigns his knuckles, it alters Kermit's emotional mood.
Yeah.
And you notice that. So it was a much more like direct road to his heart.
Yeah.
So I've got another photo to show you.
Okay.
One of the other earliest Muppets that ended up becoming really popular was Rolf.
Yeah.
The piano-playing dog.
Yeah.
How do you think, looking at him, now remember they're depicting a dog as a puppet, how do you think his head was made?
I don't know. It kind of looks like a couple of coconuts.
Really close. They cut a basketball in half.
Really?
And that formed the basis of his head, and then they wrapped felt over it and put some floppy ears on. And then Rolf.
Yeah, he's very ball-like, isn't he?
If there is anyone who has not seen The Muppet Show but is listening to this, how might you describe The Muppet Show to them?
Well, I think animal or... Not quite animal, because like, what is Gonzo? But do you know what I mean? They're like...
I believe he's an alien, incidentally.
He's an alien. Make-believe puppets. Wholesome fun, isn't it? Nothing inappropriate or...
And they do music and
They
jokes.
do music, yeah.
And
There's lots of singing and dancing. Kermit is a frog married to Miss Piggy, who is a pig. This kind of thing we don't question.
It's
just Muppet lore, isn't it?
It's a really lovely world to enter into.
Yeah.
Right, now, I'm not really very good at embarrassing moments.
Okay. As in, you don't have many of them?
No, just regularly in life. If one happens, they live long in my memory.
Yeah.
And long before the Muppet Show, because he was relatively deep into his career before the Muppet Show started in the format that we recognise it as. Jim Henson was really early on in his career. He won a local Emmy Award, but it was awarded to him by Richard Nixon, but long before Nixon was president.
Okay.
And it's really odd that those two men would ever meet.
Yeah, okay.
Because Nixon was a rather uneven, and Henson was kind of like a rather quiet, deeply imaginative, but sort of nervous, unshaven hippie, long before hippies existed. Yeah. And so putting those two together is really, really odd. But the pressures of the moment meant that the two men would have to make small talk.
Okay.
And Henson, being really nervous, looked at the floor and said nothing at all. And eventually Nixon found the silence overbearing and felt he had to say something and he must have thought Henson was like an unshaven oddball.
Yeah.
All he could find to say to Jim Henson was, "I knew a man in the Navy who had a beard once." And Jim Henson looked to the ground and said nothing for about a minute and a half, and then Nixon just rolled off. Isn't that
so awkward?
Jim Henson was recruited to work on Sesame Street, but not only as a puppeteer, he also was a really experimental filmmaker, and he would put fast-moving, colourful images, because colour TV was breaking.
Yes, okay.
And he really made the most of it.
Yeah, I did wonder if Sesame Street might be... I wasn't sure if that was a Henson thing, because there's similarities, right?
Yeah, all of the puppets and a lot of the short films he was responsible for. He regularly interacted in puppet roles alongside real children.
Yeah.
Which are really lovely moments. But the crew would announce blue sky to remove like any adult remarks or coarseness from the set right before the child came on.
Yes. Okay.
So the child would walk into this world of wonder.
That's so important.
The characters of Bert and Ernie, who they helped to establish Jim Henson's relationship with the rest of the world, because they weren't really working at first. Ernie would really want to play, and Bert would be all, "I'm not going to play, I'm organising my paperclip collection."
Okay.
But what Jim Henson recognised was that Bert, the more taciturn one, really wanted to play too. He'd just forgotten how.
Okay.
And that really is the gift of the Muppets, that everyone who watches it remembers if they want to, it's all right to play too.
Yeah. Kind of like Bluey now.
Right? On to the Muppet Show. Henson had worked on Sesame Street and it was an enormous children's hit, but he wanted to make a primetime Muppet Show, not a children's show.
Okay.
Every network rejected him. No one was interested because it was going to be scheduled up against like the biggest dramas of the day. And people just thought adults weren't going to be interested in that. In order to prove them wrong, he joined the original series of Saturday Night Live, which at the time was the most edgy kind of adult show that had ever been on. And it was the opening year, and it was Chevy Chase and Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi, Gilda Radner. But Henson was not allowed to write for himself, and he did not meld well with the sensibilities of the show. He didn't use his regular Muppets. He used like a really odd alien group of Muppets, and he has sketches set on another planet called the Land of Gorge.
Okay.
And if you watch it, they really went over like a lead balloon.
Oh, okay. Just not funny.
It wasn't really very good.
No. Okay.
And it was done like live out of Rockefeller Center in New York, and this was like a late night audience, 11:35 at night, and you've got these like puppets that weren't his best puppets, and it just wasn't really molded together very well. And so they got cancelled really early on in the first series. But being rejected weighed really heavily on Jim, and he wanted to be seen in a more adult role. And this is real. The second pilot show he recorded for the Muppet Show to try to pitch it to advertisers to prove he could be more adult was called Sex and Violence.
Really? Cannot imagine a Muppet Show of that.
Right, it's a really odd thought. And he shopped around and it was rejected by everyone. And then he got a call from Lou Grade, who's a really rich businessman, who was based in London. He commissioned the series. Every episode of The Muppet Show was recorded in England. So that's why you've got versions of the Muppets singing like Any Old Iron and Cottleston Pie and The Boy in the Gallery. There were 120 episodes of The Muppet Show between 1976 and 1981. Every episode had a human guest host, and there was an even number of female hosts. There were 60 female hosts.
Wow, okay.
And the new episode, which is coming out really soon, is hosted by Sabrina Carpenter, so that is
cool.
continuing that tradition. It was the most watched television show on Earth, with audiences of 235 million people.
Wow.
But he made equality a real part of his act, and he never announced it.
Yeah.
He let it enter the culture and just did it.
Yeah.
He just had 60 female hosts. He eventually finishes doing The Muppet Show.
Yeah.
In the Muppet movie, they had to do test shoots to see if the puppets would work alongside real locations. And they took Kermit the Frog onto an English field, and he asked a herd of real British cows, "Excuse me, we're looking for Los Angeles. Have any of you ever been to Los Angeles before?" And a real English cow looks at him, moos, and Kermit runs off. In their ordinary production week, then they would meet the guest host on Sunday and pick the music. On Monday, the band and the vocals were recorded, and then it was 3 days to rehearse and shoot the episode. He also pioneered having monitors on set, and so he would look at the floor while he was puppeteering, so he could see what it looked like out the front.
Yeah.
He didn't have to wait till he got back and looked at the...
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. You wonder how they did it before.
The music and the animals always came first. So, if you don't mind closing your eyes, I want to recreate a real moment from my life.
Okay.
I'm in the O2 Arena, and I'm watching a live show of the Muppets. And right at the end, the room goes dark, and it's really magical. I'm looking around on the floor for something, because I must have dropped something. And all of a sudden, I hear... I look up, and there you have Kermit the Frog on a log playing the banjo, recreating the Rainbow Connection song at the end of the Muppet movie. Everyone in the room burst into tears. Real weeping.
Was he really playing, or was it pre-recorded?
Well, I mean, let's not ruin every illusion. Jim Henson wrote that we could remove war by loving each other for our differences and not our similarities, and that would make us more tolerant of everyone. And he found he could explore it in his hand, in his mother's old green coat, that he turned into a frog puppet, and a song that he sang on a banjo on a log. Now, it's really odd, but he found this really unorthodox manner of exposing the most beautiful parts of the human heart.
Yeah.
And that's the reason that The Muppet Show is back, and I am really excited about it. You've been listening to Animal Nonsense.